Hello, welcome to PowerED, a Chat State podcast. I'm your host, Andy Burns, and I'm thrilled to have you join us on this enlightened journey. Here at Chattanooga State Community College, we're not just about lectures and textbooks. We're about people, our inspiring employees who are dedicated to empowering our students and our community. We'll explore community members' unique paths, discover what drives their passion for education, and uncover the incredible impact they're making both inside and outside the classroom. So, whether you're a current student, fellow colleague, alumni, or just curious about what makes Chat State so special, you're in the right place. Get ready to be inspired, to learn, and to truly feel empowered. Today's guest we have, and I'm going to go ahead and ask if you can introduce yourself.
I'm Jeffrey Schneider. I teach computer programming here at Chattanooga State. I'm got a promotion just recently to associate professor.
Congratulations.
Yeah, go me. That's about the top I'm going to get to. And I've been here 9 years, and don't regret it at all. I mean, to me, teaching kind of just a natural outlay of what I do. And I've been searching this job for about 30 years.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we wanted to do this. It was probably in the 90s that I did my first presentation. And I've been trying to get people to listen to me for a long time. I'm the youngest of four. Okay. And I'm 8 years younger than my nearest sibling. Gotcha. So it was, it was always my hand in the background. Yeah. But now, they actually take notes of what I say. Not my siblings, so I'm not going that far. but they do take notes of what I'm what I'm talking about. And yeah, I can't even think about what it would be like to not be working in higher ed. I've been off and on working in higher ed for the longest time, but I can make an effect on a student, and I can see the spark when it happens. You can hear it in their voice. You can see their reaction to it. Yeah. And especially when they start seeing, when I have students for two classes simultaneously, a lot of times they'll overlap. They'll be doing something in functions on one program or one class, and there'll be something with methods in another class, and they'll start to see, I'd like to use the word symbiosis. I haven't used that word in a while. Yeah. But it's I can see it melding in their head. Yeah. And where we've been going all along. And because it's all a story to me. And for me, and I don't want to sound like this is light. I mean, this is super heavy for me, but I try to make it a story. Yeah. I try to make it that we start out in one place, and every week we end up in another place. Yeah. And sometimes how I get there can be a little convoluted, but hopefully they'll pick up on the way. And so we try to teach them what I've always been told was experiential learning. And so we've done some things in the classroom. Like a lot of times we have problems when we're talking about communication. We'll have problems with the communication of the technology and all. Yeah. And so they learn how you have to deal with it. But I just love teaching the mix between the traditional age student and the non-traditional age student.
You do that well.
I love that. That is the top of the line. That's why I try to teach only night classes whenever I can.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I try to do night classes.
Like, you have some great ideas, but they're evidence-based. Like, half of the things that we've talked about, you've done. So you've seen the results from a student standpoint. Right. So you know how that works. Are you originally from Chattanooga?
No.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from, I was born in Illinois, in Des Plaines. Well, born in Des Plaines, lived in Mount Prospect. At 9 years old, I moved to Michigan. Okay. I wanted to be close to my mom and dad. Yeah. Dad got a job. Dad got a job. He was working in the city in North Lake, Illinois, and he got a better job that kept him closer to home. We moved to a little town called Adrian. Yeah. And I lived in Adrian till my freshman year. and then we moved to a littler town called Hillsdale. And Dad opened up a little printing store in there, and so we worked there for a while, and then I ended up getting I got an associate degree in welding.
Really?
From Jackson Community College. Well, now Jackson College in Michigan. And I decided that something you don't know about me. I realized that I was doing humanity a disservice if I actually welded, because you heard that right. I wouldn't walk on anything I welded. Okay? So it looked like the barnyard, it just was terrible welding.
Okay.
But I understood the metallurgy and all.
Yeah.
But whatever reason, I didn't pursue that as a livelihood. My wife and I got married when we were quite young. We were high school sweethearts.
That's so cool.
With 42 years later.
Yeah. That's amazing.
If my wife was watching, February 25th, 1983.
He remembers.
So yes. Oh, you baby.
He remembers.
Oh, yeah, you betcha. And then I worked with my dad for a couple years, and then I commuted to Adrian to get my bachelor's in business and management at Siena Heights, where I ended up getting a job at first in financial aid, which was a cool job.
Really?
Cool job. So I worked for them for 2 years, and then I was blessed with they were moving from a standalone computer system to a mainframe type system. Mini computer is what they actually called it. It was an administrative database, and I helped them convert data from one to the other. So I would... one of the things that the boss made us do was we had a piece of paper that we would calculate out the unmet need.
Yeah.
And so he put the calculations in, he put the numbers in, then you have to go through this and write down what the possible aid was and then what was the leftover need and that kind of stuff, the financial aid stuff. So what I decided to do was use, at this time, Lotus 123. To tell you how long ago it was.
That's crazy.
And we made a spreadsheet that would do it for me. And the boss brought in a stack that was, he's indicating about 2 foot tall, stack of files that said, well, we'll see you tomorrow, right? An hour later, I gave them all back to her, and I had the award sheet stuck inside the file. And she wanted to know what I had done. And I said, well, I just did the job.
Yeah.
And so then, and I also didn't bother to tell her I'd actually had it done 20 minutes earlier, and I was messing around with the next level of that spreadsheet. And so we got it to where I could do my job, my 40-hour week job in about 10 hours.
Yeah.
And so then I would spend time doing the next level. Yeah. Well, I discovered how this database worked, the new database that they were migrating to. And so I helped them. I had time left over, and so they had me move tables and build tables and things like that. It was all table-driven. So I put that information in, and then when we got done with that, the guy who became my boss, he cornered me one day, and he says, I kind of would like to have you working for me.
Oh, wow.
And so we made a deal, I guess. Yeah. And I ended up working for him, and they replaced me in financial aid. But I took that attitude and went with it. And so I ended up working in database administration for 11 years.
But all of this started just of what happened with the Lotus 123. I mean, was that a passion or hobby that you were working on at the time, or
it became one? What I was looking for was a way to make my job easier.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. I mean,
hence I'm lazy. Right?
Well, and the other thing is that I know I've got an attitude that the institution shouldn't be dependent on me to exist.
Okay.
So what I need to do is I need to come up with solutions that will outlast me.
Okay.
All right. And so my feeling is, even here at college, I've got it set up where a couple of people in my department know how to pick up where I left off. and they know how I've got my files sorted. I've got all my work set, all my lesson plans are ready to go, and I just today is the 6th of November. We're going to be talking about Chapter 5, which is insert updates and deletes on the database. And so I'm going to go to Chapter 5, and I'm going to grab this homework. I'm going to drop it to the PC.
Yeah.
And I'm going to present it.
Yeah.
If I get run over by a beer truck, the college continues on.
One of the reasons that I became such a fan of you is every time I would talk to you about ideas that you have, you did exactly that. You would always represent, or you would shout out another person. And I always had great respect for that, because you would talk about their abilities and the things that they would do. And I remember you and Jake Stanford had done a workshop, and the way that y'all worked the room and how you got people engaged, I just sat there and kind of watched in awe. So I kind of been a fan. That was one of the things. That. So to hear you say that, now I understand why.
Yeah, it's a system thing and if I ever interview, because I like to sit in on job interviews, not giving them. Yeah. So like when Dean Trey's position had opened up, I sat in on the committee, or I was on the committee for it. And that was one of the questions I always asked him, and I'm sure the dean remembers this question, is if you get the job, you're leaving XYZ, are they going to have to close because you're gone?
Oh, wow.
Because I want to know whether or not you've got the attitude that I'm looking for, which is I want you to give me a project. I want you to give my institution a solution that's going to survive without you.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's not a solution.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to the institution, not fair to the organization at all. Yeah. But then at some point in time I got my master's degree.
Yeah. Okay.
And I fell in love with my master's is in organizational leadership, and my thesis was a business plan for a trucking fleet. Okay. And so what we did was we wrote a business plan, and we had a big spreadsheet that the treasurer of the college had helped me build. And what we were doing was we were trying to figure out how many trucks do you need in a fleet to keep it going in case one of them went down. Yeah. And the math turns out that you need 4 trucks. And so what we did with it was I actually ended up, for a couple of reasons, falling in love with that and falling out of love with the job. So I ended up leaving Siena Heights in 2005, and I actually went to Schneider, the trucking company, big orange trucks. Yeah, and an interesting note there is that while I was sitting in the, I was in class, and the senior instructor came by, and he whispered to the deck supervisor. He whispered something to him, and then one of them came over and said, "Schneider." And he looks at me, and he looks at the truck, and he looks back at me, and I told him, "Uncle Don doesn't want me to tell you." Okay. Now, Uncle Don Schneider owned it at that point. Right. And so they didn't know what to do with me. But man,
you are funny.
Yeah. But it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And so I ended up chasing other jobs for a while. I ended up getting a job in Oklahoma, teaching.
Really?
Yep. I went to Western Oklahoma State College. Go Pioneers. Yeah. They're out in a little town called Altus, which is 15 miles north and east of Texas. Okay. And down in the Red River Basin. And it was great. Yeah. It was great. It was doing distance education. So I had written up programs and all the classes were online self-paced kind of thing. Yeah. And it was no joy for me because I liked talking to people. I know you've read my email and you've talked to me in person. Which one gives you more information? Yeah. And so I did that job, but the Benny that they gave me was that I was able to teach one class per semester in person. Yeah. And they agreed that would work for them to do, and so that kept me going. Yeah. And actually, I ended up teaching that class at night because they'd never had anybody teaching at night. And I thought there was I thought that there was a market for that.
Okay.
And so that's
that
the way.
begins what you doing now?
Yeah, well, I had been an adjunct professor part-time quite every couple of years. I would jump into it.
Yeah.
And because I had a friend at Siena Heights, and he and I were really tight, and he was the head of the business department. And so anytime I wanted to, he would let me teach the management, the intro to management class.
Yeah.
And that was dynamite. And he was super picky. So I knew I'd come around when he hired me the second time, right? It was getting, and Bill Blackerby, if you're out there, he's my biggest mentor. He's one of my biggest fans. And he was, you could get the job the first semester. That was no big deal. Yeah. It was the second term that told whether or not you were going to be it. And so I did that as an adjunct, and that was when I decided that after I got laid off from Walgreens, I decided that, I'm going to go try to get into higher ed. So Western had an opening, and the thing about teaching at a community college is to teach at a community college, you have to have taught at a community college for 2 years.
Oh.
So getting in the first pass, you can see the catch-22 here, right?
Yeah.
I have to have the experience to get the beginning level experience. So I'm cool with that, right?
Yeah.
And they liked me. I actually flew out there for an interview, and I turned around and I flew back home. I pulled off one of the more scary things of my life. You're always supposed to ask a question at the end of your job interview, right?
Okay, yeah. Yep.
And so what I asked him was, I said, did I give you any reason to not hire me?
Wow.
Because I'm here now.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I gave you the answer for the question you were asking.
It's pretty ingenious. You put on the spot.
You should have heard of the whole 5 people on the committee. It's like, are you serious? This guy just said that? And the answer is, yeah, I said that. Yeah. And so I ended up getting the job, and it was nice. It was nice working with them.
I like the way you framed that, though. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I love interview. I love both sides of the interview. I'll be honest with you. I love job interview. I love this right here. Yeah. But I love the job interviews too.
You know what? I'm getting my interview tips from you. Really.
Well, we do a lot with that with the success class. We talk a lot about it. So we tell the students that I'm always getting them ready for the only final exam that matters. And that's the job interview.
I like that. I'm going to use that, if you don't mind.
No, feel free, by all means.
A Jeff Schneider original.
Yeah, because we, when their education comes to the fore is when they're sitting there waiting and getting a job interview. Yeah. And I know I had a job interview that didn't go so well because I couldn't answer one of the basic questions of programming, which was, what's the difference between an object and a class? Okay, and I ask every one of my students this every time I meet with them after they've hit a certain class level with me.
And the question is, what's the difference between an object and a class?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and they have to know, and they have to be able to answer it fast. That'll be the first question that they get at a job interview. And then once you impress them with the first question, everything's easy after that.
So with everything that you've done, how did you end up in Chattanooga?
Chattanooga?
Yeah. Because you had options, right? There were other things you could have been.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I had my heart set on this, not Chattanooga, but the job.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'll be honest with you, I felt so comfortable. I knew that I was destined for this.
Really?
And I applied for a job here. Chattanooga State is dead center in the geographic area that I was interested in. And so I'm out for a drive one day, beautiful day, Tuesday. I'm driving down the interstate highway, Interstate 69, probably the least used interstate in the planet.
Okay.
Right? And I'm just driving in my van, and I'm doing about 60, and I look in the mirror, and there's a little dot.
Yeah.
And this dot gets bigger.
Yeah.
And I look over at it, and it's a 60s era, late 60s era dump truck.
Oh, wow.
Beat to heck. This truck didn't exist. I swear, I know it doesn't exist. Yeah. There's no way this truck was on the road at that moment. And when I saw the door, the darn thing said, City of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Street Department, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Okay? And then I felt a slap on the back of my head. And I heard two words I'll never forget. Enough said. And it was enough said. And forgive me.
This is, man.
But it is, it was enough said. Now, I took this job, and like I said, I'd never even applied for unemployment.
Yeah.
Because I just felt.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, that's what convinced me. And I'll be honest with you, I have never, ever looked back.
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm absolutely floored, right? I'm absolutely floored. So for you to take that sign and listen, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I appreciate that.
Yeah. When I tell you, you are that dude, yeah. That's what I mean.
You're too kind. You're man. I have
well,
a hard time walking out of this lab.
I'm just calling it like I see it, man.
Appreciate that.
And I just want to say thank you.
Well, I appreciate that you had me, and I'm gobsmacked. I got nothing. I mean, it's my pleasure. I love working here, and this is the best. I mean, this is the best thing I could ever expect was to be asked.
Now I'm thinking a shirt that says "Enough said." You know what I mean?
Enough said.
Enough
and
said.
on the back, lazy with.
Lazy with, yeah, better. And that wraps up another episode. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. And don't forget to share with your friends, family, or anyone else who wants to be empowered by the incredible work happening here at Chattanooga State. Thank you for joining, and remember to stay empowered.